Now, did you have someone in your corner as you're building this, or was it? I mean, of course, you said that you surrounded yourself around people from like the office and new environments, but through all this in your personal life, did you have people like that were cheering you on as you're going through the struggles of not knowing what to do, or was it you on your own with your kids?
I had family that were there to help, but really it was just me. I know that I had like support and everyone, in my family was very supportive and helpful, but it was a lot of figuring it out and doing it on my own. I Early on I didn't have a mentor, and so I think I would definitely encourage, if you're a newer agent, to have a mentor, to have someone that you can look up to. It'll just help like expedite how well in the business that you will be able to do. But really until the last like 2 years, I didn't have like that one person or someone that I felt like I could really like be myself around. I definitely had, bosses or other agents that I kind of like looked up to, but not that like very, very. I think though that also I was pretty, well, I was when I was a younger, newer agent, a young mom, like just figuring myself out, I was kind of surface level in a lot of the things that I did. And I don't know if it's just with like, growing up and age and experience, I realized I was kind of living or very kind of surface level, and I wasn't allowing myself to open up to other people. Or kind of like I would have like trust, and I kind of just wanted to stay to myself a little bit, I think. And I only can see that now by like reflecting back on that and seeing how I was kind of going about situations. And I can tell now that I was get some trust, my walls were up, I wasn't super comfortable letting a lot of people letting people in. So
So you could you
that was
say that you
another
were
hurdle.
coach? So was it that you believe you were not coachable, or you just didn't trust people? Because I've seen uh, one or the other on people where sometimes they're just not coachable, right? But then there's the other people that they just cannot trust a single soul to be able to guide them or walk them through whatever it is that they need help on.
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit of both. And then also I didn't really have someone that was a coach or a mentor that was for like a long, even just a longer period of time than just meetings here and there, like seeing them. I really didn't get into like coaching or having a mentor for most of my real estate career. And so I think that was part of it, but then also part of it was just like not wanting to let people in because of, being disappointed in the past, or just feeling maybe judgment. And so I feel like that went back to knowing who you are, and figuring those things out. If there is someone like, that is willing to, like yourself, you know, come up and have a conversation and share this beautiful space that you have, then I should be able to, see the good in that, or be able to feel comfortable with someone to share things, and not feel like I'm going to be judged, or whatever kind of like limiting beliefs or thoughts that can pop into your head. And so I think there was like a lot of growth in learning that about myself, and letting people in.
They say that usually change comes, and we use this as well when it comes to closing a sale or a transaction, right? People are either driven by either pain or pleasure. And can you think of a situation that maybe was so painful enough? Or was it for you always the bigger picture, the bigger dream that helped you, you can say, transition over the old self to the new self? Was it more on the pain side, or was it more on the pleasure side that just helped you get out of your own way, you could say?
Yeah, I think that I would say it was probably I went through some personal things that I kept to myself for a long time. And so I think that I just had to get, get through that and let that go and see that the beauty and and not like physical beauty, but just the beauty of life and how much life there is to live. And if you're still stuck in, a period of your life that you just feel like you're not really able to push past, um, even, things that back, to forgiving yourself for mistakes that you've made or just trusting yourself. Um, I would say it was, a lot of hard times and not really knowing what direction to go, but just believing in myself that it's possible and there's so much more life ahead of you. Kind of like pushed me to that next level. And it was either like you're going to keep doing the same things that you're doing, or you're gonna have to make the maybe, the uncomfortable. Everyone says, like growth is in the uncomfortable times that you have to put yourself in, right? Uncomfortable situations. And sometimes I think a lot of the times I was just like shying away from those completely, instead of trusting myself that I can do it and having the confidence. And one thing that I learned was, about failure and that I wanted to share was the opportunities that you don't take, you're not gonna get confidence in yourself if you're not taking those opportunities. And even if you try something new, you have an idea that want to try, but a lot of the times we just don't get around to it for whatever reason. Because, you might be afraid to fail at it. You don't want to be embarrassed if you, go into a new career and you might think that if I do this and I share it with the people around me and I fail, that's going to be really embarrassing. Or, I have people that look up to me and I don't want to disappoint them or whatever, that might be. Um, I learned that, that is failure. Not trying at all is failure. But if you try, and even if you make some mistakes and it doesn't turn out exactly what you expected, as long as you can learn from that, then that's the beauty in it. Even if it maybe didn't turn out how you wanted to in that moment, it might not have been the right time. As long as you can take like one thing to learn from that, then it's not a failure.
It's so interesting you say that, because I don't know if you remember, but from the beginning, one of the things that I was sharing from our principles is, with collective closers, is that we have to believe first. We have to close, like the closing starts within. And it's interesting because I know that a lot of times we, as human beings, sometimes we have to sell ourselves on something we're trying to sell. So have you ever found yourself where you're doing something that deep down inside you know it could be true, but you still have doubts, and you have to sell yourself first on how to be able to push through every day? Do you still experience that? Did that ever happen to you, and where?
Yeah, that has definitely happened to me a lot, and it still happens. The difference is in the past, like I was explaining, I just wouldn't um wouldn't pursue it, wouldn't even try. Now I have the confidence in myself that I know if it's meant to be for me and I put in the efforts and the work that I need to, it will work out how it's supposed to. And that doesn't mean that that's maybe how I envision it or how I want it to, but it's going to work out however it was supposed to. And if I know that I'm putting the effort and believe in myself, then that's the part that I have control in, and whatever that outcome is what it is. And learning from that, shifting, being able to come up with a solution quickly. um, but you have to, believe in yourself, like you said. Have the faith in yourself, and not have expectations that this is the only outcome. I think um, the less amount of expectations that you can have on something, the more freeing that yourself, the faith that you have in yourself is. So that's how I would kind of explain that. And it definitely still happens, all the time. And I think the more you know yourself, you can prepare as much as you want or try and used to overthink things a lot or overanalyze something, but just having that faith in yourself and believing like no matter what happens, you're still gonna keep moving forward.